Yo, what's good everyone? So I recently made a video talking about who I think the best 7-star is in each and every single class, and after that I had a lot of people asking me to make the same list but for defenders. So this is what this video is. Couple of rules though. This is going to be 7-star champions only, so only champions that are available as 7-star can qualify for this list. So no champions like Nick Fury, for example. And this is going to be the same structure as the last video. There's going to be 3 honorable mentions, then I'll reveal who I think the best defender in that class is. Going to be starting off with the Mystic class, and of course this is one of the strongest classes defensively anyway, thanks to the Mystic Dispersion Mastery. There are plenty of good defenders. Dragon Man, Destroyer, Ebony Maw can all be really tricky without a good counter. Werewolf by Night has some really dodgy AI that can make him tricky to fight. But for the first honorable mention, I'm going with Longshot, because if you fight this guy without a buff immune champion, it's very easy to push this guy to L2. And if you push him to L2 whilst he's got Purify active, you're straight dead. He's just a menace to fight without a buff immune champion. He gains so much power. Same goes for Man-Thing, but Man-Thing is so much more tankier than Longshot, so you got to give Man-Thing the edge. Plus, he was one of the trickiest defenders in the current Remove Your Best Shot meta, so we got to give him that as well. And then we have Enchantress. A lot of people would put Enchantress at number 1, but once you learn how to fight Enchantress, you can nuke her down really fast because she has a small health pool and without barely any health loss. So yeah, there's a lot of people who struggle fighting Enchantress, but once you learn how to fight her, you can nuke her down extremely fast, and most of the top players know how to fight Enchantress, so you can't put her at number 1. No, the number 1 defender in the Mystic class is for sure Sasquatch, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. He's got the biggest health pool in game. On top of that, he has damage reduction, 5% for each of his Wrath charges, and these can go up to 14, so he can gain up to 70% damage reduction. Combine that with the biggest health pool in game, he's just a insane stall on defense, and he stalls when he goes into Wrath as well because he can spam loads and loads of special attacks. Yeah, he's just a chunk on defense, and he might be my first rank 4 7-star. He's definitely one of the champions I'm thinking about. But anyway, we move on to the Science class, and there's actually not that many strong defenders in the Science class. There's Hulk and Titania. They're tanky, but that's all they have going for them. They're not exactly hard to fight. Then there's Immortal Hulk. Same thing, he's tanky. He can go immortal, so he can stall, but again, he's also very easy to fight. But for the first honorable mention, we got Void. In a typical meta, he's relatively easy to fight, but there are plenty of metas that apply debuffs to your opponent, and in those metas, Void is one of the best defenders in game. There's Thing, plenty of counters for Thing nowadays, but if you catch your opponent without a counter, yeah, they're probably timing out and you're probably winning the round. Spider-Ham, if you catch your opponent without an evade counter or a skill champ, he can be really annoying, and he's actually really tanky thanks to that taunt that lowers your attack rating. So yeah, Spider-Ham, he's annoying to fight, and he's much tankier than you think he would be. But obviously, the best science defender is Photon. Not only do you have to play around her charges to make sure you don't push her to a special attack when she goes into blue light form, because if she throws a special attack in blue light form, you're probably going to die. You can't parry her as well if you don't bypass miss, and you can't even block too much against Photon because she does some ridiculous block damage. Last thing, she turns off your willpower mastery, so you can't willpower heal from any of the debuffs she applies to you. So yeah, easily the best science defender, but I really like her design. I think she's a very good defender, but a very fair defender. There are plenty of champions you can take Photon with. Moving on to the Mutant class, and there are plenty of decent defenders in this class, like Nightcrawler can be very annoying if you don't have a way to counter his evade. Storm X as well if you don't have a champion that gets the damage of special attacks. Bishop can be annoying if he throws his special 1, or if you have a hard time dexing his special 2, which plenty of people still mess up Bishop's special 2 dex. Then there's Havoc as well if you catch your opponent without a armor up champion. Really solid defender. For the first honorable mention, we got Mr. Sinister. Of course, if you catch your opponent without a counter, they're probably going to time out because of all that regen. Then there's Dust. You can't block too much against Dust, otherwise she's going to enter into her Sandstorm, which will do unavoidable damage. And she's really tanky, has a ton of crit resistance, has a big health pool. Yeah, really solid defender. Onslaught, of course, with not being able to parry him, that unavoidable Neuroshock damage. The Crush debuff he applies to you, which basically makes him go unblockable. Of course, he's up here. A lot of people will be surprised he's not at number 1, but I still think Domino is the best defender because as tricky as Onslaught is, plenty of people have learned how to fight him now. Plenty of people can reliably take him down at 100% health or close to that. But if you catch your opponent without a good domino counter, it doesn't matter how skilled they are taking some damage and they're probably going to lose the round. And you know, you can say there's too many domino counters, but you can't just fill your deck with domino counters, otherwise you're going to have troubles in other areas. So yeah, there's plenty of domino counters, but you can't put them all inside your deck, so people still get domino trapped in Battlegrounds all the time. She's still one of the best defenders in game, and she forever will be. Moving on to the Cosmic class. Ignoring the obvious number 1 pick here, there's actually not that many good defenders in the Cosmic class. There's Hyperion, I guess, if you don't have a good counter for him. Can throw SB3. Terrax, even though I haven't fought a Terrax in Battlegrounds for about a year. Moving on to the honorable mentions though. First one is Nova. He was a beast in the crit with your best shot meta because he takes 75% less damage from guaranteed crits. But outside of that, he can be a solid defender, but a lot of champions can nuke him and he's not that hard to fight. Null can be really tanky if you run the Inequity Mastery. He reduces your combat power rate so you can't spam too many special attacks against him. And if he throws his SB1, he's going to go into Corruption and reverse your controls. And then we have Maestro, who's a lot better than Null and Nova on defense. Of course, if you don't get a good counter to Maestro, you're timing out thanks to that glancing buff Maestro gains. But of course, the number 1 is Serpent. Now, should I rant about Serpent? I think I should. I hate this guy. Basically, every other defender I've listed so far, I like the design of. Like Onslaught, Photon, they're tricky defenders, yeah? But they feel fair to fight. There's plenty of options for them. You can't say the same for Serpent. There's barely any options for him. And yeah, he's just not fun to fight, man. That power gain is ridiculous. The unavoidable block damage is traumatic. I don't know how else to explain it. This is probably the only time you'll ever see me fight Serpent because he's forever banned in Battlegrounds for me. But yeah, man, thought I'd take this chance to shit on Serpent because yeah, any chance I get to shit on Serpent, I will take it. I hate this guy so much. Terrible design, just a terrible champion for Battlegrounds if you ask me. I can't believe they didn't nerf him after everyone asking for it, but hey, what are you gonna do, man? Moving on to the tech class, and there are some good defenders here. Guardian can be a really good defender if you catch your opponent without a way to get rid of Guardian's armor up buff. He's gonna auto block you. Cap Sam can actually be a pretty annoying defender if you can't bypass auto block. But for the first honorable mention, we got Mysterio. You know, he's relatively easy to nuke in a normal meta, but in any metas where there's extra power gain, like the current Gladiator Circuit node, Mysterio can be a menace. Penny can still cause a lot of problems without a good counter. If you don't have one, you're going to have to drop her shield, which will waste time in a match. And if you don't drop her shield, you're probably going to get auto-blocked and take some damage. And then there's Red Skull. A lot of people would put this guy at number 1. And if you're more of a casual player, yeah, but in top tier Battlegrounds, this guy gets nuked all the time. There's just so many champions that nuke Red Skull fast that I can't put him at number 1. No, if you watch my streams, if you've been a fan of the channel for a while, you know number 1 is Iron Goat. And if you don't believe me, I've actually made a video proving that this guy is the best tech defender. If you've seen that video, if you've watched my streams, you know that this guy has got me so many W's in Battlegrounds. And even with ideal options for Iron Man Infinity War like Hulkling or CGR, people still mess up. You can't say that for Red Skull. If people have Herc or CGR for Red Skull, they're going to nuke him. They're not going to mess up. But you can't say the same for Iron Man Infinity War. People mess up to this guy even with ideal counters. And he's so tanky with all those passive armor ups. He stalls with that power gain at the end of the match. He's just such a menace on defense. Moving on to the skill class, and I'm sure you can all guess who the number 1 in this class is, but let's all play along. There are some decent defenders here. Moleman can be a decent defender. If you hit his block, he's going to go unstoppable, and he purifies all your debuffs. But for the first honorable mention, we have Killmonger. He's a really good defender. It's just everyone has CGR and everyone automatically drafts CGR, so that really brings Killmonger down. Then there's Korg. Plenty of people, most people have learned how to fight Korg now, but even if you've mastered fighting him, he still takes a while to get down thanks to his rock shield tanking all that damage. Then there's a Tumor. He was actually really close to making it to number 1 because there are so few counters to a Tumor and he does so much unavoidable damage, but there are plenty of champions that can nuke him, that can get 50 to 51k scores. So I think we gotta say the best defender is Bullseye. Of course, there are plenty of counters to him nowadays, and he kind of needs rank 3 to be a menace on defense. I know from experience because my rank 2 Bullseye does not do the best on defense, but when I fight people's rank 3s, yeah, it's so much block damage. But yeah, if you don't have a bleed immune or a champion that has really strong power control, you're gonna take some damage against Bullseye. There's no avoiding it. It doesn't matter how skilled you are. Even if you can fully dex Bullseye's SB1, you still take bleed damage off it, which is a bit silly in my opinion. But that's going to be the end of the video. I'm really close to 6k subs, so if you could hit that sub button, I'd massively appreciate it. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.